Martin Luther King Jr., the dreamer who changed America. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. From the beginning, Martin grew up surrounded by the deep racial inequalities of the segregated South. Yet in the safety of his home, he was raised with strong values of love, equality, and faith. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a pastor, and his mother, Alberta, a schoolteacher. Both taught him the importance of standing up for justice. As a boy, Martin quickly realized that the world wasn't fair. One of his first painful encounters with racism came when a white childhood friend's parents refused to let them play together anymore because of Martin's skin color. It was a lesson he would never forget. Martin excelled in school, skipping 2 grades and entering Morehouse College at just 15 years old. Though he came from a family of preachers, Martin initially had little interest in following that path. However, under the mentorship of President Benjamin Mays at Morehouse, a champion of social justice, Martin began to see how faith and activism could work together to fight injustice. After graduating, he studied theology and later earned a PhD in systematic theology from Boston University. It was during his time in Boston that Martin met Coretta Scott, a gifted musician and activist. The two married in 1953 and became a dynamic team, united by their commitment to civil rights and social change. In 1954, King became the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. He quickly became involved in the fight for civil rights, a battle that had been brewing for decades. In December 1955, Rosa Parks, a black woman, was arrested for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus. This event sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. Martin, just 26 years old, was chosen to lead the boycott. For over a year, African Americans in Montgomery walked, carpooled, and found other ways to get around, refusing to use the city's buses. Despite threats, violence, and even the bombing of his home, Martin remained steadfast, preaching nonviolence and resilience. In 1956, the Supreme Court ruled segregation on buses unconstitutional, marking a major victory for the movement. Martin's philosophy of nonviolence was inspired by the teachings of Jesus and Mahatma Gandhi. He believed that love, peaceful protest, and moral courage were the most powerful tools for change. His speeches, sermons, and marches rallied millions to the cause of equality. In 1963, King helped organize the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, one of the largest civil rights rallies in American history. Standing before a crowd of over 250,000 people, Martin delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, envisioning a world where his children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. The speech became a defining moment in American history, capturing the hopes of an entire generation. King's leadership helped achieve monumental victories, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation in public places, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which aimed to remove barriers preventing African Americans from voting. In recognition of his efforts, Martin was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, becoming the youngest recipient at the time. He donated the prize money to the civil rights movement. But his journey was not without challenges. King faced constant threats, arrests, and criticism, not just from segregationists, but also from those within the movement who thought he was moving too slowly. Yet he remained committed to his principles of nonviolence and unity. In his later years, Martin expanded his focus to include issues like poverty and opposition to the Vietnam War, calling for an end to economic and racial injustices worldwide. In April 1968, King traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, to support striking sanitation workers fighting for better wages and working conditions. On April 4, 1968, while standing on the balcony of his hotel, Martin was assassinated by a gunman. He was just 39 years old. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death was a devastating blow to the civil rights movement, but his legacy only grew stronger. Today, he is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history, a man whose dream inspired millions to fight for equality and justice. His birthday, January 15th, is celebrated as a national holiday in the United States, honoring his life and the ideals he stood for. Martin Luther King Jr. was more than a civil rights leader. He was a symbol of hope, courage, and the belief that love can conquer hate. His words and actions remind us that the fight for justice is never over and that we each have the power to make the world a better place.